So Steve, one of the things that I think most people are familiar with is the idea of setting goals. Mm-hmm. And yet I'm not sure people really understand how to do it properly, so, you know, and give themselves the best chance of success. So what would you be your hints, your tips, your ideas and insights for goal setting well?
My first tip is to have some goals. That's a good idea. You're probably right, actually. But again, over the last few years, a lot of evidence, strategies, if you like, have come together. I think we know more about what's going to give you a more significantly greater chance of success in achieving goals. There are also people who say I'm not very goal-oriented, you know, and that's not my way, but I think we all set some goals. We set the alarm to get out of bed in the morning, you know, we set targets all the time. So I think there are certain things that make it more likely that you will have clarity about what you want and you'll get your outcome. In my book, actually, I've got, and I remember it's page 106, and the reason I haven't memorized my whole book is because it's when I'm doing a workshop on coaching, I do a little bit on this is how you set goals, and it's 6 steps I wrote down years ago. And it hasn't really changed that much. I think we're more aware of why they work. You know, the one, I won't go through all 6 points, but the principles are be really clear about what you want. The other thing I should say, by the way, it's all linked to purpose as well. It's more likely you'll achieve something if it means something to you. You know, just a random goal. Like if I said to you, you know, get fitter, start going to the gym 4 times a week. If you feel pretty fit and don't really care much about it, why would you bother? You know, there has to be some attachment to it. So I think having a reason to do it, but be clear about what you want. There's a guy I saw years ago up in Scotland, I think it's called Jack Black. I think his thing is Mind Stores, many years ago, I'm sure it's Jack Black. And he talks about this idea of future history. So, and I did a lot of training on NLP for many years, which I don't know whether many people have come across. Most people have heard of neuro-linguistic programming, you know, the way the brain works, the way your body works, and how you can sort of condition yourself to think and feel a certain way. And a future history is about imagining, then actually going there, almost like as if the future's already happened, looking back and going, how much do you want it? You know, if you can create an emotional attachment to something, when you get excited about something you really want. You get it when you buy a car, right? The other day, actually yesterday, my wife and I went to a Mazda garage. She's always wanted a 2-seater. We never had one, but the kids are bigger now and thought we'll get one. And went and sat in a Mazda MX-5, right? Which are actually quite reasonably priced. And we sat in this car and went for a test drive, and you come back and you go, right, so now you've actually almost created a little future history, right? You've felt it, you've touched it, you've smelt it, you've had a real 3-dimensional experience, you're excited, you've moved around. The drive to get that is much more, it's clear, I know exactly what I want, I know exactly what it feels like, I want a piece of that. Well, the same thing applies in day-to-day goals, and if you can get people, not like how much shopping do we need, I'm talking about, you know, your more significant goals, like going for your next job, the house you want, the family you want to create, the world you want to create. So be clear about what you want, set some, give yourself a sort of sense of 3-dimensional feelings about the thing, so you can get passionate and excited about it. And then one thing that's becoming really good, and we know a lot more about this now, is to share it with somebody. You know, a lot of people fail in goals because they keep it themselves and they give themselves a good reason not to do it. Back to self-sabotage, you know, well, if I don't do it, it doesn't really matter. Give yourself, it's okay. Whereas if I said to you, I'm going to write another book, and it's going to be called X, and it's going to be out by the beginning of next year, and you're my good mate or a confidant, you're going to chase me on that. And I'll tell my wife, and I'll tell several other people. Eventually, when I've told enough people, there's enough momentum, I'm going to look bad if I don't do it. So I've actually got external influence coming at me as well. So they're really kind of basic principles that if we put those sort of things in place, and we've known for years sharing stuff works. We know why it works. We now know from Steve Peters' work, the Chimp Paradox book, which is a brilliant book. I absolutely love Steve Peters' stuff. He coached Chris Hoy to 6 gold medals, you know, and he's an amazing guy. He talks about this part of the brain, which is really the limbic system, which sometimes sabotages you. It's the bit of the brain when you wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to go training, and it's raining. And you think, and the chimp goes, don't go, you only get wet. You catch your death of cold. Have a biscuit and a cake. So if you can manage that, and one of the best ways to manage the chimp, there's many strategies, is the chimp doesn't like to be embarrassed. This piece of your brain doesn't like to be humiliated or embarrassed. So if you tell someone, I'm going to come to your training class, or I'm going to train with you, we're going to go to the gym tomorrow at 2 o'clock. If I get to 1:30 and don't want to go, I'll still go because I don't want to let you down because you're my friend and I've told you I'm coming. You're less likely not to go when you've got training partners. You're less likely not to deliver when you've got support and people who are sharing it with you. So those basic principles, we all kind of know, but we don't do it very often. We'll set these crazy goals for ourselves, keep them to ourselves, and give ourselves loads of excuses to maybe opt out, especially when they're hard. You know, like discipline required and long term. And the goal is a long way away. Writing a book can be 6, 12, 18, whatever many months. It's not like you get it straight away. You know, you've got it's a delayed gratification thing. So I think the principles that I've just described work well when you're on long-term, bigger goals.
And you talked about goals going wrong and people failing. And linking it to a purpose. Is one of the reasons, do you think, that goals sometimes don't work is because they're not linked to a higher purpose? Because we all know, I'll give you the cliched one of the person that wants to lose weight, and sort of New Year's Day comes, they say, right, this year I'm going to lose weight, and by, January the 5th, it's already gone. So is that because they genuinely wanted to lose weight? They weren't lying.
Yeah.
So, and they shared it because I knew about it. So, but is it because it's not linked to anything more significant? It's almost a goal for its own sake?
Yeah, they may have been drunk at the time as well.
Might be the case. But is that why you think?
A number of things on that. Again, Steve Peters talks about that when in his book about the idea of New Year's resolutions and so many failing, and this part of the brain that decides it wasn't really that important in the first place. I think there's a with something like take your example, want to lose weight. The first thing that struck me when you said that, actually, if that was somebody saying that to me, I'd say, exactly how much weight do you want to lose? And exactly why would you want to lose it? And exactly what would be the benefits of you losing it? And what would your life be like if you did, because it is a very bland thing to turn around and say, I want to get fitter. Or I want, there has to be a reason. There has to be a reason. It's interesting when you think about smoking and how many people, we all kind of know, pretty much more than most areas of research now, that smoking is generally bad for you. Generally speaking, it's not going to help you. You won't breathe as well, you'll probably get cancer faster, although we've all got a great-great-gran who smoked since she was 6 and lived till she was 100. But, overall, we know it's not good. People get addicted to smoking. There's lots of factors influence whether you smoke or not. And what they've done is they've attached something to that. My mother used to smoke, and she was very poorly. She had heart failure. She died of heart failure. And I said to her, why do you smoke? You should stop smoking. I stopped saying that after a while. I just left her alone. But she'd go, it's my only pleasure. It helps me relax. It de-stresses me, right? So she's attached. Because I think if you took anything in life that was a pleasure, relaxing and de-stressful, and anti-stress, then I'd do it, right? She's completely forgotten all the other sides of it. So she's given herself a really good reason not to change. And I think we have to do the same when we want something. I'm going to get fitter. Why? I'm going to lose weight. Why? What would be the benefit? What would it really look like? What would it feel like? What would you get out of it? And then the accountability process starts, and then the steps start. The next thing, because then it becomes a serious commitment, not just, hi, Happy New Year, going to get fitter next year. Because you're not really making a commitment to anything. And your mates aren't really there on your team. And the next thing, once you've done it, you break it into small parts. Because generally speaking, again, those goals are more long-term, right? It's not a 3-week or a 2-week thing. It's a 6-month thing or whatever. I think you've got to break it into small parts. When you write a book, you know about this. You put a book is a series of steps. The book itself is overwhelmingly significant as a thing, or could be. Oh God, I've got to create this book. But if I'm writing a book and I go, I need 6 chapter headings. I need a theme to work with. I need to look at my reference. You can break it down into constituent parts, make progress, and look back, I'm making progress. All right? And also psychologically, I think, and again, we know this much more than when I wrote my book years ago. It's kind of well researched now that we know that when we look back, how far we've come is very motivational than simply looking how far we've still got to go. So I think they're coming back to your New Year's resolution idea. I totally agree with you. 99% of them are probably said on a whim, with champagne, not the best time to make your commitments. Make it to people that care about you. Give yourself a good reason to do it. Break it into small steps. And another bit, which I've just remembered, celebrate as you go. There's got to be little moments where you go, come on, I don't mean celebrate with cake, but celebrate as you go along so you know that you're getting rewarded for the things you've achieved. Rather than, I'm still not there, so I'll go through more pain. Right? I do this a lot in business. If you've got targets to meet, sales targets or clinical targets in the NHS, You may or may not hit your clinical targets. You may or may not. There's all sorts of circumstances that can affect whether A&E can survive during the winter months or not, in terms of capacity. But if you have 4 or 5 really successful days and every patient's been seen and, stop, pause, raise a cup of tea with each other in the junior mess or whatever and go, come on guys, we're doing really well here. Because if you don't celebrate, it's just one long-term slog to the outcome, which may or may not be the one you want. So I think you've got to celebrate the small victories as you go as well.